All right. Hello, everyone. We are here for this is podcast 65
Dang.
for this series, I believe.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. This is pretty nut. This is pretty nuts.
We're gonna open with some reviews.
Yeah. We're gonna open it with some reviews. We've got a couple of people. We got some new. I think we have a couple of new people, and one of our regulars has been playing catch up. So I'm gonna do Silver 4700, the courtesy of reading all the reviews that he left for us during the interim.
Okay.
So, but first off, we'll start with Joe Clone on chapter 64. That was the most recent one.
Okay, Joe Clone. Wow, this was a cool one. The strategies, the interactions, the fighting. Oh my. It really shows how scary Kurai can be, especially when you have him copying one of All Might / Deku's moves at the end. Big imperfect cell vibes there. I really don't know which side is going to win because they're both giving it everything. That kind of feeling is tough to draw out of me as a reader because I'm with All Might on the notion that I want all of the students to win. Major props for that. Oh boy, this is going to be good. The Kai versus Deku fight we've all been waiting for without knowing it. I should stop drooling.
Yeah, this was another reason I wanted to do these chapters was because like Kai and Deku never fought like they never like actually gone head to head. Like they didn't fight off in the tournament like at any point. Like they did the race against each other, but they've never actually like slugged it out.
Yeah.
So that was a reason for doing this. For
Nice.
sure.
And sorry, Joe Clone, for not being more dramatic with your exclamation points. My voice is a little bit rusty, as you guys can tell today.
You guys can't see it, but we've got like really cool Star Wars mugs that were both given to me for my birthday, but my wife just commandeers them whenever she wants.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm not stealing his drink today though, because I need some herbal tea because after a day of yelling at students and then an evening of women's ministry, my voice is just dead. I had a paleta with tajin and chamoy.
And you've been scarfing stuff down the wrong way today, haven't you?
I keep inhaling.
Or did you like inhale the pizza yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday I got pizza stuck in my esophagus.
And today it was the tajin, right?
Today I got tajin. So for you guys who aren't from New Mexico, you know, we Hispanics, we like tajin on everything. It's basically this ridiculously salty and limey chili powder that we put on everything. And I'm a weirdo because a paleta is a type of popsicle. So it's pretty popular here to pour.
So for all the non-New Mexicans out there, I'll break it down for you. It's a really spicy popsicle.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a really popular dessert here. Anyway,
yeah.
I was eating that.
If we find a dish too boring, we're just like, let's add pain to it, and that's good.
Exactly. Anyway, I hadn't had a paleta with chamoy and tajin in a long time, and so I had one at an event tonight, and not only did I talk way too much, but I inhaled some of the chili powder. So my voice is trash right now. So
you've definitely been married to me for a while now because it would have been like even 2 years ago, if you had gone to one of those events, you would have been like sitting in the corner trying not to talk at all.
Absolutely.
And now you're just like right in the middle of everything.
I am. You've forced this introvert to get out there. Anyway, sorry, total tangent. Thank you, Joe Clone, for your review. Sorry I didn't quite do all of your exclamation points justice today. All right, Fairy Sin Girl. This is on chapter 63, which is the previous one. This is going to be intense for sure. I hope Class 1A will be able to win this training exercise.
All right, so she's pulling for the rest of the class.
Yeah.
All right, interesting.
Well, I mean, I think I kind of have to agree with her there.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I mean, I don't want him to. He's a great character. Don't
yeah,
get me wrong,
it's not good if he wins everything.
He can't be that overpowered.
Yeah.
That's just, I don't know. We need to even the odds in some way.
I don't if he would obviously I know who wins, but for the sake of suspending disbelief, if he wins, I feel like I've structured it so that it'll be he won because he outthought them instead of he outmuscled them.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, because we know that there's some attacks where they're absolutely lethal. He cannot use them on his classmates, so he does.
If he was an actual villain and he wanted to win, he could literally blow up the entire fake city.
So
that's a thing he can do.
Yeah, but because he wants to be a hero, he has to be able to strategize, and I think that's the main. Aside from testing their limits, that's one of the main goals is to check everyone's strategy. here. Anyway, yeah, thank you for your Sin Girl.
Thank you for your review.
And then you wanted to read Silver 4700, correct?
So,
okay,
yeah. So he starts off, see, this one he says he's reviewing chapters 57 through 58 on this one. He says, I'm steadily catching up on reading just because life has been hectic. Lots of good stuff in the past few months, graduating college. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. Dude, that's awesome. I didn't finish college or high school, so you're one up on me, man. You're two up on me. And bad stuff. Not going to talk about it here. I understand that, man. Don't worry about it. I hope you're doing all right. Yeah. He says, but I'm back to reading this story. He says, I absolutely love the feel-good chapter. Your wife did an excellent job with it, especially the interactions between Eri, Hikari, Izuku, and Mirio. This was an absolute joy to read. See, everybody likes the chapter that you pretty much detailed.
And it's so funny because I always forget that I help you with things, because me helping him, you guys have to know, it has nothing to do with the writing. I literally never touch his laptop. He'll literally just come up to me and be like, oh, I think I'm going to do this with my chapter. And I'll be like, okay. Wouldn't it be cool if you did this too? And then, like, that's where it ends for me. Like, I don't do any of the hard work.
You do the editing.
Well, I don't read it, though.
My grammar would still be a disaster if I was married to you.
You know, that's the thing, though. I don't even read it. You literally just read it out loud. So I don't even help with the grammar. I help with some diction here and there. Your word choice. Because, I mean, if I were to see it, I'm sure you would hate me because I'd be pulling things apart. Because I know you. You start a bunch of sentences with and.
Okay, when people are speaking, I will defend that because people do not always speak with grammatical correctness.
But I can be a little bit intense with the grammar, so I actually don't ever read them. I know I'm a horrible wife, but he reads them to me. I have dyslexia, I have ADD, and I have toddlers, so I don't have a whole lot of time. But he does read them to me before he publishes, and I do little nitpicks here and there with word choice. But I mean, it's all him, you guys. I think you guys give me a lot more credit than is due, but I do appreciate it. I am the sounding board. Yep. I'm like the background storyboard helper. You are a great sounding board. Anyway, but thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Let's see. Most of the time I put in an SAO reference here, but since I pretty much drive those, I'll put something new instead. Ooh. Monoma is an absolute asshole to Hikari. Bakugo. Fun isn't something one considers when causing my nightmare of a classmate to be the epicenter of a massive non-lethal explosion, but this does put a smile on my face.
Okay, that sounded way more like Endeavor than Bakugo, but good try.
I was trying to mimic Thanos more, because that's the Thanos quote from the Avengers Infinity War trailer.
Oh, okay.
Or like when he's talking to Loki. What?
It's the new nemesis of Lilo. I don't know.
There we go.
That's funny. See, I kind of block out all of the scenes with
Monoma?
No, I can't even remember his name. Thanos? Because he just looks like somebody painted my stepdad purple. So we have a strange relationship, to say the least. So whenever I hear Thanos quotes, I just totally block it out because I can't handle him. It's like one of the thumbs from those what were those teen movies? Spy Kids. It's like one of the thumbs, and my stepdad had a baby, and it was painted purple. Anyway,
that's a surprisingly accurate description, huh? Oh man.
Sorry. Anyway, I didn't catch the Thanos quote.
I feel like without the camera, some of the imagery we're giving them is somehow more graphic.
Keep going.
Sorry. Let's see. Nice little reference to Mirror Mirror you did there. Was a good touch. Because they have both Weiss and Jiro kind of audition, for lack of a better term, as to who's going to be. Yeah, I was like, well, Weiss is there, and Mirror Mirror. That's her song. Like, man, one of the things I really love about the RWBY series is like you hear a song and you immediately know, like even without seeing the episode, you can know who it's about. Like that's one of the things I really loved about that series. Let's see. He finishes with, I don't have a whole lot more to say, but I'll be reading the story again, and hopefully I'll be caught up soon. Have a good one, and well done to the both of you. Well, thank you for the review, man.
Thanks, Silver. All right. Handron. I think this is a new one. New person. Hi, Handron. Okay, so I'm assuming the MC doesn't die in the end since there isn't a tragedy tag. Also, I hate when stories don't have happy endings.
So I actually saw this review a couple days ago.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, wait a minute. Because you can only... One of the unfortunate things about fanfiction.net is you can only put up like 2 tags for like what genre it falls under.
Okay.
Whereas one of the things I like about Archive of Our Own is you can put up like 100 tags of like what category it falls under. But I saw that and I realized that Your Hero Academia was under like action adventure. And I'm like, no, you know what? This needs to be under the tragedy category. This definitely needs to be under the tragedy category. So, yeah, man, I don't like it when stories don't have happy endings either, but, I mean...
It is also possible to have a lovable main character die and still have a happy ending, too.
Finnick Odair from Hunger Games, anybody?
Absolutely. And he's not necessarily a main character.
I feel like he became one of the main characters by the end.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about things in this shonen realm is even if it's based around a couple of individuals, there you grow to love a big group of people, and then they all kind of keep the story moving even if you lose somebody.
I mean, also the main character doesn't die at the end because the story's not going to end when he dies.
Yeah, so the story will continue. So, you know, I see that this is on chapter 1, and I mean, I got you. If you're not wanting to be emotional, then that's fine. But
yeah, man,
I would say give it a chance.
Yeah.
All right. You may enjoy it. You may surprise
yourself.
yourself.
I hope we see you again on the reviews.
But anyway, thank you for your review.
Thank you.
Silver 4700.
All right.
Let you take this one.
All right. Let's see. So says initially I was going to hold off on reviewing again until I was completely up to speed, but after reading chapter 61, I just have to talk about it. I mean, that's the one I spent like 2+ years building up to for the most part. So yeah, I can understand that, man. Let's see. Hikari, you wanted me. Here I am. All for one. I wanted to see what you do, and you didn't disappoint. You want to know how I got these scars? From All Might? From All Might. Yes. In short, I loved how you wrote his encounter with All for One. Maybe it's just because I love The Dark Knight, but this reminded me a lot, with the psychological elements specifically, of the Joker's interrogation. All things considered, it was very well written. That's interesting that you pull up that parallel, because honestly, I haven't seen that movie in quite a while. The only thing I watched, like, to lead up to, like, the conversation between Kurai and All for One was just... I watched a few episodes that had All for One in it, especially the one where All Might talks to him when he's in prison.
That is an interesting parallel, though.
Yeah.
Because you have this super scary, dangerous person who's actually sitting down and having a conversation, and then of course the psychological.
Like everybody else around him is like, we got him, we captured him, and he's just like, I'm letting you keep me here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a major parallel between those two villains, is they're both masters at manipulating and really messing with people. So that's an interesting parallel you draw there, dude.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that.
And I'm glad that you like that, because I think that a lot of readers were conflicted about that conversation because they were very confused about what he wanted, and I think you kind of understood that he's mostly messing with people at this point.
He's bored.
But yeah, so I'm glad you like that part, because most people were a lot more focused on the following scenes.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, let's see. Where did we leave off? Let's see. All for One. Children are the most resilient ones who are most often underestimated. Hikari. That's the most commonly known piece of info regarding shonen that has ever existed. I thought you were supposed to give me new info. Yeah, pretty much. That's funny. That's funny. Let's see. Lastly, the fight scene between Hikari and the Nomu was really well written for the most part. I don't have a whole lot to say about it other than it was a really intense fight that probably should have ended with Hikari immediately being hospitalized instead of talking with the press. Jokes aside, it was really tense and a joy to read. I mean, he did it off screen, but like, I honestly don't. I kind of want to leave it up to your guys' imagination, but in my head, he like made his declaration against the league and then just like fell over and like passed out because he was so done in. Yeah, but yeah, he definitely went to the hospital immediately after that. Let's see. Hopefully I'll be able to finish catching up later tonight. I just really wanted to acknowledge this chapter. Keep it up, my friend. Well, thanks, Silver. Yeah,
nice.
I'm really glad you I'm really glad that I got to. I was honestly looking forward to seeing what you would have to say about this chapter because you've been with us for a long time, and I always enjoy seeing what you have to say about the chapters.
Yeah, look at you binge reading. All right.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, Silver. Light Hero Kaiser. Most interesting, great chapter, mate. Can't wait for more. Keep up the good work. Kaito. Beating up Bakugo is fun, and as for me, the Izuku in my world, for him, it's basically helps him a lot. Light. True. Blade Hero Light and Bow Hero Impact signing out.
I mean, yeah, man, we can all get behind that. Let's see.
My brain is so slow. I need to reread it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna reread it.
Kaito says that for him beating up Bakugo is fun, and then the Izuku in his universe also has fun on beating up on Bakugo. Apparently.
All right.
Just
all
don't turn Deku into a Bakugo, man. Don't invert it.
Yeah, but hey, that's cool. Sorry, I'm slow. I'm running out of steam. Let's do this. Okay. Thank you, Light Hero Kaiser. As usual, you're awesome.
All right. So Silver says. Fun in regards to the last couple of chapters. Fun chapter, very fun chapter. It was interesting to see how a 1v20, give or take, I lost count, 1v23 would go, and it was pretty good. Hikari is a pretty good strategist, and I always love to read those moments where it's more intellectual than just, he's punching, but smartly. Strategies like that are always fun to look at and analyze.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kurai's trying to avoid punching people for the most part until feels like he's out of options. Let's see. Ruby says, so what? Do I let him go? Do I fight him? Hikari doing a Joker impression while holding the detonator. Now, let's not blow this out of proportion. Ruby, playing with people's lives, whether it's an exercise or not. Why so serious? You know what I think? It's all about the money for most of these villains. This town deserves a better class of criminal. I'm gonna give it to him. Proceeds to kick Ruby off the building, gets himself out, and prepares the detonator. Hikari, it's not about the extra credit, it's about sending a message. Presses the detonator. Everything burns! No, I don't know why I'm suddenly obsessed with Joker from The Dark Knight. Dude, it's a good film. I will die on the hill that says that the Dark Knight trilogy is the best Batman films.
I love Christian Bale. I know he's a jerk in real life.
He's a good Batman.
But he will always be my Batman.
Yep.
Yo.
Yep.
Even though I was scarred for life watching him in Newsies. It's fine.
What's
fine.
Newsies?
You don't want to know.
Okay.
It's Christian Bale as a child in a musical, if anyone wants to see him as a child in a very cringy musical.
Okay, see, that for me just, like, reminds me of... So I just watched, like, all the X-Men movies this one week. This is when I was living in Australia. And, he's Hugh Jackman. He does commercials for stuff in Australia. He was on this tea commercial, and he does the dumbest dance, like... I don't know what this dance number was, but he's doing it. He's got this big old smile on his face. He's like happy doing it. I'm just like, and I can never see Wolverine the same way again.
Hugh Jackman was just the music man in a musical. He loves musicals.
Oh yeah, no, like
he's so happy.
But all I had ever seen of Hugh Jackman up to that point was the Wolverine.
Yeah. So I'm sure for
I didn't know that I had just learned that he had tried to make it on Broadway and somehow failed.
Mm-hmm. Christian Bale was in quite a few movies as a child. There was another really good war movie he was in as a child. I can't remember the name of it.
Not The Patriot, is it?
No. As a child, there was this movie about kids who were prisoners of war. I can't remember the name. Anyway, sorry. Total tangent. You're fine. You're allowed to like that movie, man.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie. Let's see. Anyways, I can't wait to see the upcoming battle between the rest of the class and Hikari. Not much else to say, except that it is totally possible for a Deadpool Marvel to exist in this universe. You know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we've got twice. He's basically My Hero Academia's Deadpool.
Didn't you mention a new Deadpool All Might crossover?
Yeah. Silver's the one that told me about it, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a Discord channel where readers can we can all talk together about stuff. Yeah. It's been real fun. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Because what was our latest thing? I was explaining to them like how Deku, like several of Deku's abilities are like based on Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. Like, because he's got Danger Sense, so Spidey Sense. He's got the Black Whip, which is basically anime webs, and he's really strong. Obviously, he's a lot stronger than Spider-Man, but the parallels are definitely there. Mm-hmm. And so Silver opened up a thread where he's just like, "Do you know what this means? This means that Deku is a menace to the entire city." Last Robin joins in. He says, I need pictures. Deku. Pictures of Deku. Now get out of my office. You're fired. I want you back here with pictures in 1 hour. Mr. Jameson, your son's wedding is tonight. All right, that's right. You're on fire. I need your help with something.
That's amazing. Oh, you guys are hilarious. I'm glad you're all keeping in touch.
Oh man, yeah, it's so much fun. I love Discord, man. Like why did I not hop on that sooner? Like,
wow, that's so good.
Let's see. Last note, I was finally able to get over my stupid block for my My Hero Academia story from some months ago. Awesome, dude. It's kind of stupid, but while writing something else, I found a good way to just get started on writing so that I have something down. That was the biggest issue when writing anything, really. Anyways, I hope you have a great one. Consider me caught up on this story. Yeah, man. Why do you think I work on so many stories at once?
I mean, yeah, it's.
Admittedly, I'm in a little bit of a burnout with some of the other ones right now, but like, if I find myself stuck on one, I'm usually able to move on through another project.
Yeah, Joe was structuring, not necessarily writing, but he was structuring this story for a long time before he even started writing and publishing it.
Oh yeah, I started structuring this story like a little while before the second My Hero movie came out.
So it's like he, at any given point, you guys know, he usually has several projects going on at any given point. And he started a new one, which I'm so excited for, you guys. You have no idea. He just read me an introduction, and I'm just like so stoked. It's so hard for me not to talk to you guys about it. But no, also, I really appreciate you guys coming in and chatting, giving reviews, and then, just talking about your own writing journeys too, between Light and Silver and everybody else who is also writing. Like, it's good. I'm so glad you guys are talking to each other and giving each other feedback. And
I really like seeing that in this like the people who like link up in this in my fan community, like, and talk to each other. It's really cool to see like how supportive they are of each other. That's always awesome to see.
Creative burnout happens to everybody, so that's why it's nice to just continue enjoying good material and getting inspired by other. Yeah,
that's the best medicine for a burnout is go and enjoy somebody else's material.
Absolutely.
Let's see. For some reason on the computer it's not loading up, but Silikira did put in a review a few hours ago.
Okay. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just the one at the top.
Okay, Silikira. Damn. Kurai being a straight savage in this chapter. He really is Akurui's brother. He's gone from being the main character to being Akurui's brother. He's no longer the main character in this story. Everyone just wants an Akurui story. We've seen him determined and even angry in a fight, but he's straight up murdering his classmates' chances at winning here. I'm always here for a well-deserved Bakugo blasting, but something about the way that Kurai exploited his quirk against him just struck me as being way more savage than he normally is. It is Bakugo, man. I mean, I remember him trying to play the part of the villain, taking them all
as well as he
could during their first training exercise, but he's really taken it to a new level here. He didn't just have a strategy for taking them all down. He had a plan for how to mess with their heads while he did it, which is honestly kind of disturbing on some level. I know it's all for the purpose of the exercise, but what Ruby said really resonated with me, that it's a real good thing that Kurai did not turn out to be a villain. Like, he very well could have become. Yeah, I think that's the idea. I mean, that's what the teachers are concerned about too.
Oh, I really love that idea, like with Naruto, like how he, like when he fights Gaara, he realizes like this could have very easily been me.
Absolutely, and I think that's what's so beautiful about this type of storytelling too. Yeah. Is you're able to see all of these personalities and their histories, where they came from, and how one little choice or one little act of kindness or one relationship can totally turn things around. And so, that's a really good point. I'm going to let you pick up on this one because my dyslexia is hella bad.
All right, I'm going to turn this real quick.
All right.
Sidebar for a moment. Can you imagine the power struggle that would erupt as a result of Kurai becoming evil at some point? Like after he found out the truth about his father. Ooh. There's an interesting alternate universe fic for you.
Alternate universe, somebody take it.
He'd probably steal Shigaraki's entire alliance out from under him and take his place as All for One's new heir while he was at it. Seriously, this chapter threw me for a loop with how good he is at pretending to be a villain. That's an interesting thought. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. Somebody
want to take it. Yeah, take it away, man. Let's see. On the other end of things, watching his classmates running around while trying to adapt to every new situation he throws at them was very interesting to watch. I believe the teachers now when they said that this exercise is more for their benefit than Kurai's. Most of the villains they've had to deal with up to now are fairly straightforward in their tactics, even if some of them are actually pretty smart, but they've never really had to outthink someone who knows all of their weaknesses and how to exploit their personalities. The scattered pieces of combat were enjoyable for a reason I didn't really expect, and that was how his classmates were not all immediately blasted away in one shot whenever he confronted them. There are some, like Class A's Big Three, who I expected to be able to somewhat keep up with him, but I wouldn't have expected someone like Ojiro to be able to get in a couple of solid shots in. However, it was done in a way that not only showed off how far Tailman has come, it wasn't done in a way that is simply explained away by someone saying, oh, he's been training really hard in secret for this day, or something to that effect. He used what he does best and has used from the beginning of this series, and that is his knowledge of the martial arts, as well as him seemingly taking Ectoplasm's advice on how he uses his power. Instead of over-relying on his tail, he definitely switched things up for Kurai, which made their skirmish an entertaining read. Yeah, I definitely wanted to give for lack of a better term, I want to give the B-listers a chance, a couple of the B-listers a chance to shine in this one.
Because, I mean, I think they, for the sake of the story, they tend to fade into the background sometimes, but it's like, this is a prestigious school, and every single person, except for Grapehead, who should not be named, deserves to be there. They earned it. Yeah. And so it's pretty cool that every once in a while you get these moments where you're like, oh, wow, they're actually really cool. So that I agree that it's fun to get those side characters in here periodically.
I think Kurai actually talked to Mina about that earlier in the story when she was like kind of upset like about how she did like on a test or like in one of the semester finals, and he was like, hey, you made it into UA. It's like, not just anybody can get in here. Just because you didn't do as well as you wanted to on this, it doesn't make you dumb. Yeah. So yeah, I needed to hear that. Let's see.
Life advice with my hero, your hero.
Let's see. Kurai letting him think that he had a shot at winning with his sword and then using the force, magnetic function of his arm to take it back was funny. I admit, but it also goes back to show how much of a savage he's being in this scenario. He's probably going to owe a few apologies when this is all over with. Yeah, probably. Savagery aside, he really is a smart cookie. Several of his maneuvers are things I never think to try in this situation, but none of them seem to be the ridiculous level of foresight that Light Yagami versus L turned out to be, which is nice. I only expect something like that out of Akururi in this story. Please, though, do not give that kid a death note. I get the feeling he would use it.
No, he
absolutely would use it, yeah.
It's Akururi.
He definitely would. Out of curiosity, what is Kurai's ranking in terms of the class's academic performance? Like, Yairozu's number 1, Ida's number 2, Bakugo's 3, so on and so forth. Huh. I don't know.
Are you serious? I would have thought you'd know that right off the top of your head.
I mean, he's up there, but
I'm shocked.
Let me think. I know Deku's number 4. And Ida's number 2? Oh, maybe I have some of them back. I want to say he's kind of in between Deku and Bakugo. Okay. In terms of academics. Okay. Like he's up. Like he's not the smartest one in the class, but he's up there. Okay. Yeah.
That's shocking that you don't know that.
I don't know everything, man.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Wow, someone had a question that I don't know the answer to.
That happened twice today. That's amazing.
Maybe what was the other one?
I don't remember, but I remember it happening.
No, I think no. I think it was I couldn't answer without spoiling.
Oh, okay.
Or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm gonna set if Deku is number 4 in the original, I'm gonna say Kurai's number 4 and then Deku's number 5, or something to that effect. Yeah, I might have to get back to you on that one.
I feel like Deku would definitely be. I feel like he would be above Kurai.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Kurai's like. He's one of the cool collective students who he's automatically smart. He knows he has to work hard, but he also has a life and knows everything doesn't have to be perfect. Deku's the more anxious, obsessive, going to make sure he's going to study his butt off all the time. Okay.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense.
In my opinion, I think Deku.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, you're probably right.
Because I think for me, because I don't see many similarities between me and Kurai. But I've always been like a solid B student because I grew up with my mom going to graduate school. She was a really good student. She was always super like hardcore about studying and stuff. And I knew that I did things. I understood how to go to school, and I didn't always put in all the effort that I needed to because I was like, I know I can do this.
Yeah.
So I didn't necessarily do a lot of studying, but I still did pretty well. B's get degrees, yo. But I think I see, as far as, I don't see a lot of similarities between me and Kurai, but as a student, I could see him being like that. Because he knows what he's about. He's going into a field he's familiar with.
Yeah.
And so it's like he can afford to have a life and relax a little bit rather than agonizing over his academics the way Deku does. Because Deku does agonize over his academics.
Oh, yeah.
Don't say he doesn't.
Oh, yeah, absolutely he does.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's a good. Okay, yeah, no, my wife wins on that one. Deku pulls ahead. Yeah, Deku. I don't know the exact number, but whatever it is, Deku pulls ahead of Kurai. Let's see. Okay, Weiss coming in clutch with the sword play was cool to see. I can honestly see the Monty-styled choreography in my head while I went at it, which brought a big smile to my face and a desire to go listen to some Jeff Williams music.
Oh.
Yeah, man. Yep, it's good. Yeah, we were just talking about that earlier. Jeff Williams did some good music, man. Let's see. Bakugo saved a damsel in distress in the most Bakugo way possible, and I am all about it. Seriously, I was cackling my head off so loudly that my roommate says he needs to get a good set of headphones so that he can do his thing in peace whenever I read a new chapter from you. I'm sorry?
That's awesome.
Send my apologies to your roommate? Let's see. And back to the savagery. Oh my word, he just dropped a full building on his friends. Dude. I know he was under the influence of his happy crazy power, but dude. Deku and the others better think of something faster. I get the feeling that UA is going to need a new fake city entirely. Looking forward to seeing how you conclude this little segue.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, and that's the last.
That's the last one. That's the last one for today. Yeah.
Thank you, Silikita.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks all you guys for coming in and leaving your reviews.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you guys want some answers as to how this is going to finish. I will keep you no longer. I hope you guys enjoy the chapter. We will be right back after the fact.
From the moment I reached the other side, I could not hide from the great divide. I can't turn back time, I must know what's mine. Get back what I lost, no matter the cost. Is there no way home? Is there no way home?
One for All versus Inika. The wind pressure generated by Kurai's mocking recreation of All Might's move missed its target, but still tore off the outer shell of a bank and sent the pieces flying in multiple directions. Ruby tried to get in close, being one of the only people that could keep up with his speed, her scythe coming back for a cutting stroke that would deeply slash his artificial arm if it managed to connect. To her surprise, however, Kurai didn't even try to dodge the attack, instead leaping closer and batting her weapon away after getting inside of its range, followed by a punch to the stomach that caused her to cough up a few stomach contents and then go flying into Todoroki, who was gearing up to surf in on his ice in order to provide the speedy girl with some backup. The boy then allowed the overwhelming power to recede back into his body, already knowing that if he continued to use it, he would quickly lose touch with his sense of reality, which would be dangerous for multiple reasons. As it was, he wasn't entirely sure that he hadn't gone too far when he had essentially hurled an entire city block at his classmates in an effort to quickly subdue them. Still, it wouldn't do for his classmates to think that he was uncertain of himself now, so he glanced around his prospective opponents while saying, "Who's next?" "Ladybug!" called out a distant, high-pitched voice. "Wait, what? Ow!" Kurai shouted in pain as Blake struck him from behind with the flat of her sword. He let out another yelp as Ruby suddenly appeared in front of him again to strike at his front before passing him by. He had suffered 2 telling blows, and one of them was causing him to bleed out of his chest from a long cut. The longer this fight went on, the more blood he would lose and the closer he would get to his body giving out. So before the girls could come around for another coordinated pass, he leaped up high and drew his sword before branding his chest with the energy, cauterizing the wound and causing him to let out a howl of greater agony. From down below, several of his classmates winced at the lengths he was going to in order to keep himself in the fight. "He doesn't give up easy, does he?" Weiss commented as she and Bakugo ran up to the rest of the fighters. "Not even after he's been killed," Mina muttered. Glancing at the resident explosive expert, she asked, Isn't this about the time when you start trying to kill him? Shut up, I know what I'm doing, he growled as he placed his hands together. AP shot! Autocannon! A rain of explosive fire shot upward to intercept Kurai, who knew that meant a lot more pain for him. After all, Bakugo charged a steep rate of interest when he owed somebody payback. Swinging his sword as fast as he could, he batted the explosive bolts away before they could come into contact with his body and preventing further harm to himself until he managed to land safely on the ground. Just before he made contact with the street, he fired off 3 shots of energon at Izuku and Mina, who were moving in to intercept his descent. He succeeded in driving them back and giving himself enough time to again gain solid purchase on the street, but sweat was starting to run across his brow and his breath was coming out a little harder than before. He's getting tired, Mina realized. Guys, we're almost there! She shouted as Blake closed in and began to exchange blows with her katanas against Kurai's energy blade. Belladonna, switch out! Izuku called as he charged in with crackling energy. He's all yours. Izuku charged in through a shadow clone, the real Blake having dodged out of the way a second prior. Kurai caught his classmate by the wrist with his metal arm, intent on flinging him away from himself. Instead, he got a face full of a pressurized air blast that knocked him back and forced him to release his friend. Another burst from his friend's fingertips knocked his sword away and sent it clattering across the road. That's new. Using a reverse somersault to get back on his feet and gain some distance, Kurai sent his quirk pulsating throughout his body, charging his muscles and causing his fingertips to glow with light. Full cowling versus energon, he panted with a tired grin. One for all against the power of a star. The 2 masterpieces of all for one coming to a head. Good thing I've been preparing for this eventuality. Even if I haven't perfected it yet, here goes nothing. Base form, ultimate move. Starburst Stream! Kurai shot forward at a speed comparable to Izuku's full cowling when he pushed to his current limit and clotheslined his friend as he passed him by, sending his legs flying up and his back crashing into the ground. With a flick of his fingers, he used a handful of lasers to demolish the ground hard enough so that a giant block of concrete jutted out of the ground, giving him purchase to land and immediately ricochet back toward his opponent at breakneck speed. He punched Izuku in the shoulder to send him back toward the ground right before he could get back up. He repeated his method of keeping Izuku off balance several times, his wildly flying lasers discouraging anyone from getting in too close while he bounced off the barriers that he had made out of the torn-up city road. This was an ultimate move he had been working on ever since he saw Togata's Phantom threat in action during their sparring session. It involved him using his surroundings to attack with blinding speed so that it would almost feel like he was attacking from every direction at once, making it very difficult for them to conjure up anything in the way of a defense. Kurai knew that he was fortunate to be able to change the way that his body handled his quirk with his chakra abilities, granting him a diverse moveset that any pro hero would envy, but he also knew that he didn't always have the time or the right mindset to be able to use those powers. He needed to have a winning move for when he didn't have the time or wherewithal to use one of his chakra techniques. Izuku was nearly done in when Kurai was shot with a rubber bullet powerful enough to knock him off course and send him rolling a fair distance up the road. Ha! Got him! Ruby crowed triumphantly. You okay, Izuku? Mina asked as she darted forward and helped the bruised and dazed boy to his feet. Can you keep fighting? Just give me a minute, the greenette groaned. Ow. He hit me more than Gran Torino did during my internship. What kind of training were you guys doing? Mina asked him, concerned that Izuku might have a concussion. Okay, ladies, Ruby called out as she slammed her scythe into the ground and took aim at the recovering Kurai with her rifle. Checkmate! Said boy gritted his teeth, knowing that some kind of coordinated attack was on its way and that it would more than likely come from the Americans again. He only had one chance to outlast whatever strategy his friends had cooked up now. As Blake stepped back and Weiss rapidly skated forward on a hex, he focused a good portion of his remaining power into his Manipura chakra. With a ringing shout, his body was covered in what looked like yellow flames, just in time for Blake and Weiss to both strike him from different directions, even as Ruby fired a single bullet that would strike him right in the shoulder, which could potentially break his collarbone if it hit him head-on. Instead, all 3 attacks were completely nullified by the ethereal flames, the close-range combatants even being knocked off their feet by the recoil of their own momentum. The bullet from Ruby's weapon fell to the street, having been completely scorched by whatever new power Kurai had awakened. Ultimate move. Endless resolve. Both Weiss and Blake were completely at Kurai's mercy, but he neglected to press the advantage, remaining exactly where he was, as Izuku and Bakugo swooped in to rescue the 2 girls and get them out of the way in time for Mina to let loose with an acid geyser, and Ruby to fire off several more rubber bullets, all to no effect, same as the last round of attacks. How many times am I going to have to save you today, huh? Bakugo growled as he deposited Weiss on the tar, though she seemed to recover well enough to look back down the street at their quarry, who had yet to move a muscle from within the yellow flames. It's not like you saw this one coming either, she snapped. Guys, focus, Izuku called out as Blake and he tried to understand what they were now having to deal with. This must be the power that Mina warned us about. The one that Kurai's been saving for emergencies. He was still badly bruised, but even broken bones wouldn't stop All Might's heir from saving others in front of him. Yeah, so what's it do? I'm not really sure, but it looks like our attacks aren't affecting him at all. That part was obvious, nerd! Now Todoroki had added his flames to the assault, but Kurai was still holding fast against the onslaught. Neither ranged nor physical attacks seemed to be making any difference, Izuku thought rapidly. It might help if I knew what chakra unlocked this ability, but I doubt that he's going to just tell me. His only consolation so far was that it seemed like Kurai had no intention of moving while maintaining the technique. Or maybe... Guys, I don't think he can move while he's doing that, he called out to be heard over Bakugo's explosions and Todoroki's fire. This caused the others to pause in their attacks and regard their opponent carefully, who was remaining silent and still, though this was not indicative enough for them to lower their guard. Seeing this, Izuku added, maybe we can wait for him to tire out. After all, that shield has to be taking up a lot of energy in order to be strong enough to take on all of our attacks. On the other hand, I can drop it at any second and blast all of you, Kurai said, the first he'd spoken since he had conjured the yellow fire. You'd never know it was coming, but if you keep trying to get in a preemptive strike, you'll wear out faster than me. That I can promise you. No, you can't, Mina countered. You're strong, sweetie, but you've been burning through a lot of power today. Even you can't have much left in you. Fascinating theory, he said with a slight grin. Care to test it? I'll even give you the first shot. Guys, wait, Izuku urged the others before anyone can make a move. There has to be a limit to how much force that shield can take. If he can't move, all we have to do is keep trying different quirk combinations to see which one can break through his defense. Sounds fun to me, Ruby said as she collapsed her scythe. Can I go first? Who wants to go with me? What do you guys think this is, target practice? Kurai asked, looking mildly offended. Well, you're not giving us much of a choice, Mina said with a non-committal shrug. Sorry, sweetie. No, you're not. Let's try combining Shinee and Todoroki's ice powers to see if the drop in temperature gets to him first, Izuku said as he urged everyone else to back away. If that doesn't work, he can blow up the ice like he did against me in the tournament. Screw that noise, Bakugo growled. Kachan? If they can't freeze Saiyaman, then I'm gonna howitzer him, the explosive student declared. His lame-ass fire won't get the job done if his ice doesn't either. Hey, that's actually a good idea, Ruby chirped. Not only with the explosion itself packing a massive punch, the rapid heat expansion in the air will really add to the impact. Of course it's a good idea, it's mine! Bakugo shouted while Todoroki and Weiss got into position. Throughout all this, Kurai still hadn't moved, nor did his shield show any signs of wavering. Good luck, he said with a confident smile. But you're wasting your time. Despite what Mina thinks, I still have plenty of gas left in the tank. We'll see about that. Weiss smirked. She held her sword in a reverse grip. Without another word, she stabbed it into the ground in tandem with Todoroki's foot hitting the pavement. The air dropped rapidly in temperature as a massive wave of cold shot out and buried Kurai in solid ice. When there was no sound for a moment, she lifted her sword and said with a smug expression, Well, seems like we won. Let's inform the teachers that... Don't you know that assuming how the villain is down is... Sorry, let me start that over. Don't you know that assuming that the villain is down when they're not is how over 30% of hero fatalities happen? The group was surprised to hear Kurai's voice coming from within the ice, muffled though it was. I should know. The League nearly did me in because of my overconfidence during the Hasaikai raid. How is he still standing after all that? Weiss demanded with a drop jaw. Who cares? Bakugo said with a savage smile as his hands sparked. Now it's my turn. With a heated blast, he shot up into the air before he began to charge down toward Kurai, his body whirling as he added more explosions to propel himself even faster toward their opponent. He became a whirling human missile before he reached out his hand and bellowed, Howitzer! Impact! The shout was timed so that a thunderous blast ripped apart the air, turning the ice into steam and shattering several buildings within a block of the explosion's epicenter. Bakugo landed back near his classmates with a confident grin plastered on his face. That's how it's done, he snorted. You guys done getting yourselves together? Kurai's voice wiped the grin off of Bakugo's face faster than their teacher could suppress a quirk. I'm getting bored just standing around. How? Ruby demanded as the steam began to clear, revealing Kurai, who hadn't budged an inch, even in spite of all the damage around him. How is he still standing? Nobody could take on that kind of blast head-on and still be okay. I beg to differ, Kurai chuckled. Hey, Izuku, Mina said while Ruby and Kurai began to trade insults. You and Rose should try to combine your speed, see if that doesn't overwhelm him. Et tu, Brute? Her boyfriend deadpanned. You threw a building at us. Okay, that's fair. The group tried several different combinations against Kurai's new technique, but all of them failed spectacularly. Ruby even knocked herself out after they had Izuku throw her through a quartet of speed-enhancing hexes that Weiss conjured by slamming into Kurai with all the force she could muster. The effort also proved to be too much for her teammate because the albino girl also lost consciousness after the fact. How is he still standing? Mina gasped, clutching at her ankle. She had tried to spin kick Kurai from behind while Todoroki sent an ice wave at him from the opposite side, but had wound up slipping on her own acid due to exhaustion, making her ankle collide with his head instead of the bottom of her foot, injuring and forcing her to sit down about a block away, where Blake was also trying to recover her breath. I should have led with this, Kurai laughed while Bakugo glowered at him. How about it, heroes? You're down to 5 people from your original 23. Want to throw in the towel? Citizens are all dead. Not like you have much to gain by exhausting yourselves any further. In your dreams! Bakugo snarled as he started to back up a few paces, causing Kurai to narrow his eyes in suspicion. Get over here, Deku! Okay. As Izuku moved toward the explosive student, Kurai couldn't help but wonder, what is this guy planning? He didn't have to wait long to find out. Bakugo and Deku exchanged a few words in lowered tones before Bakugo launched himself into the air, while Izuku powered up with One for All. Judging from the amount of lightning he was generating, Kurai thought it would be safe to say he was pushing his limits, the 25% cap-off that he had used against Chisaki during their attempt to rescue Eri. Even that won't break my armor, though. Kurai frowned. True, Izuku had yet to use this much of his power against him, but he had hit him a lot harder when Ruby and Weiss's help earlier, and his defenses remained unbroken. Sorry about this, Kurai, Izuku shouted before he leaped high into the air, right in front of Bakugo, who grabbed him by the arm. A rapid series of repeated explosions saw Bakugo whirling Izuku around himself, faster and faster, all while screaming angrily. Wait a second. Die, Saiyaman! Bakugo roared. Explodapult! A final blast saw to him slinging Izuku at Kurai with the force of a comet, making the other boy flinch involuntarily. Ah, crap. There was a sound of thunder and a shockwave that ripped through the city block, knocking the other students off their feet amid the howling winds and crumbling buildings. When things began to quiet down and the dust was settling, only one student was still standing on the destroyed pavement. I still don't get how that worked. What do you mean? Kurai was lounging on the common space couch, bandaged heavily due to the severe bruises and abrasions that covered a good majority of his body. Recoverer Girl had said that he would need to rest for a full day before she could give him any more treatment after healing his broken bones. Mina cocked her head from where she sat, at the foot of the couch where his legs were, and elaborated, I'm pretty sure that Bakugo's combined attack with Todoroki and Shinee was way more powerful than that last hit. Plus, Izuku, Rose, and Shinee teaming up had more direct force behind it too. So what happened? Did you finally hit your limit? Not exactly. The others who were in the room all turned to look curiously at their classmate, having been wondering the same thing themselves. After Kurai had been defeated and Recoverer Girl had seen to the injured, Aizawa and the other teachers informed them that if this had been a graded test, the heroes team would have failed miserably. As it was, they only received minimal extra credit for saving one civilian and capturing the villain. Kurai himself was told that while he started off strong, he was too hasty in destroying all of his bargaining chips, not to mention the fact that he had recklessly engaged the entirety of the remaining heroes and destroyed an entire city block to do it, so he too received very little extra credit for his efforts. This left all parties feeling fairly dejected, but right now, everyone really just wanted to take it easy for the afternoon. Even Ida, Weiss, and Yairozu, the pushiest of the bunch when it came to maintaining good study discipline, didn't seem to have it in them to complete anything more than the homework assignments they had already finished for the weekend. Seeing as everyone was naturally curious about the new technique that he had unveiled, and since he had dropped a building on half of them, Kurai decided to indulge them a bit. Okay, for context, that power comes from my Manipura chakra, the one that deals with willpower. In all honesty, it kind of reminds me of Kirishima's Unbreakable, so I used it as a visual guide whenever I practiced using it. Wait, really? The redhead asked excitedly. You mean I helped you figure out a new power? A little bit. Ow. Kurai laughed, though he cut the sound short due to how much it hurt. Sorry. As I was going to say, there are 3 big drawbacks to basically becoming invulnerable. The first, which you guys already noticed, is that I can't move when I'm using it. So the only time I can really utilize it practically is when I need to wear somebody else out. Second, it takes me about 5 seconds to power down and get moving again when I want to drop out of the technique. Wait, you were saying you could have walloped this instantly once you stopped using it back at the city? Ruby protested. I was lying, Kurai shrugged. I had hoped that I could outlast you guys, and I'd like to think that I got close, but in the end I was bested by the power's third flaw. I'm guessing that it's fairly tiring to use, Ida guessed. A little, Kurai said with a small shrug. It actually takes a flat rate, for lack of a better term, of 20% of my maximum strength to conjure and maintain. Because the power stems from my will, as long as I stay confident in my ability to hold up against whatever's coming at me, the shield holds. But if I have even the slightest doubt about my capabilities, the power fails. Wait, how did you practice that power without a partner? Sero asked. Seems like something you can't practice on your own. I fired blasts of energon at rock pillars that Mr. Cementos made so the rubble would fall on me, Kurai answered. I kept increasing the amount that would fall on me until I collapsed an entire column on my head. Never felt any different as long as I kept the barrier going. Geez, how many extra powers are you going to get? Yang complained. Everyone else just has the one. It's still one power, Kurai argued. I just have more variety in how I control its output than the average person. He paused before adding in a slightly less argumentative tone. There's also 2 more chakra that I haven't figured out how to open. He was instantly booed by many of his friends, some of whom threw pillows and various snacks at him while he protested quite ineffectually that it was not his fault that he had the quirk he did. He's much stronger than we have been giving him credit for, said Nezu as he glanced around the table where All Might, Aizawa, and all the other teachers who were in charge of seeing to Kurai's education sat. Do any of you here believe this makes him a danger to those around him? Hikari has shown the potential to be a threat since day one, Cementos rumbled. He's a good student, and he is proving to be a fine hero. But power like his is inherently dangerous, especially given that certain aspects of it can cause his personality to change so drastically. That may be, but he's a very good boy, argued Midnight with a frown. He studies hard, and I think we can all admire his sense of restraint, given how he never acted out against the kids who were tormenting him only weeks ago, which frankly, I think reflects more on our inability to cultivate the right attitudes from our own students than anything Hikari has done. No one is denying that he has faced great hardship, Ectoplasm acknowledged. However, while he has handled himself well so far, there is the risk that one day it will all become too much for him to bear, and he will break from the strain. It's happened before. Wouldn't it be better if we cut the guy loose from the hero course before he gets any stronger and then has a chance to go crazy? President Mike questioned. That's what you're asking, right, Nezu? Right, Ecto? Cementos, are you in on that noise too? No one has said that, the principal said calmly. You didn't have to, the normally loud hero said as he crossed his arms. I don't dig this one bit, yo. The kid hasn't done anything to make himself suspect for any bad vibes, and this is coming from the guy who suggested that there's got to be a mole in the school. We take him out of the hero course, it'll crush him. He won't even try to go villain. He just have nothing left in him at all. I ain't about to be a part of a group that kills the music in a kid's soul just because we're a little scared of his potential. Mike is right, All Might said before he coughed a little. If we give up on young Hikari, we only give credence to the voices of the people who have opposed his presence ever since his father's agenda was revealed to the public. None to mention that it would kill the poor kid. It's our job to cultivate his power and heart so that he becomes a fine hero, no matter what comes at him. I think some of you are just over-exaggerating the potential consequences of what might happen if he turned to the dark path. He kicked a building at his classmates and buried half of them under a city block as a result. Ectoplasm deadpanned. It's a miracle that no one was permanently injured. That was no miracle, Midnight argued. They've all been well trained, and their experiences with the League have served to make Class A capable of standing up to a villain of Hikari's caliber, such as it were. There's your contingency plan if you need it. Hikari's friends would do anything to keep him at bay if the worst should ever occur. Not that it will. You cannot say that for certain, Cementos countered. And you guys can't say for sure that he'll turn into a villain, President Mike replied, his voice beginning to spike in accordance with his irritation. Everyone please remain calm, Nezu urged the teachers. Raised voices and tempers will not help us here. As the teachers forced themselves to simmer down, and in President Mike's case actually sit down, Nezu turned to Aizawa, who had yet to say anything since the meeting had begun. Eraserhead, what do you think should be done? This entire meeting is a waste of time, the sleepy man grumbled. Hikari is a model student other than his error in judgment when he said nothing about Midoriya and the others' plan to go rescue Bakugo from Kamino. He gets good grades, his judgment in battle is excellent, he's a good influence on his friends, and he goes well above what is expected of even my students. I've never doubted in his ability to become a good hero, given enough time. This test has only served to reinforce that notion. Everyone was surprised by his words, even All Might. You criticized his performance harder than anyone else in the test today, the former hero remarked. Now you're singing his praises? Hikari is the kind of kid who improves more when his flaws are highlighted, Aizawa said dryly. He doesn't need any encouragement from me. That's what he has friends for. He already has a support system in place. As far as I'm concerned, he's still a student, and he will make mistakes like he did today, which is why he has us as teachers. If you're going to kick him out because you're afraid of him, then I'd say the league has already succeeded in making cowards out of our faculty." With that, he stood up and left the table, adding over his shoulder the words, "You know my vote on the matter. I'm going to bed. I have a class to teach tomorrow morning." The second that the door was closed, All Might shook his head and muttered, "I can never get a read on that guy." "So what's the deal?" President Mike demanded after an awkward silence ensued. "I'm with the racer. The kid should stay." "I agree." Midnight nodded firmly. "It would be cruelty to eject him after everything he's already been through. It may be a risk to continue training someone who is at risk of major mental instability, but we could effectively be removing any semblance of stability that he still has if we were to take him out of the hero course," All Might added. "That, to me, is an even greater risk. Young Hikari has more than earned his right to stay." "It would appear that the majority rules in favor of the boy remaining at UA," Nezu said before Cementos or Ectoplasm could argue again. "I admit I would have voted against him remaining here myself, as it is my duty to see to the safety of every student here, but in this case I am happy to be overruled. After all, Hikari is a student too. His well-being is still our responsibility." "It's still dangerous," Ectoplasm muttered. "We're heroes." All Might coughed. "Entertaining danger is an occupational hazard." In spite of themselves, the other teachers had to laugh a little bit at that. After all, he wasn't wrong. Hikari, a villain, the man thought with a hint of derision. A ridiculous notion if there ever was one. "I knew it!" Mina shouted as she punched her boyfriend on the arm, causing him to cringe with pain, though it didn't stop him from laughing uncontrollably. "I knew he was the villain with his smug little smile!" "Weren't you the one who was saying earlier that Hikari couldn't bluff?" Yang snorted as the other players in the game were either letting out groans of disappointment or congratulating their friend on a game well played. "I've been learning," Kurai chortled as he managed to keep his girlfriend's hands away from his ticklish spots. They had been playing a mobile game where up to 15 people acted as heroes trying to keep a building from collapsing by making various repairs. The trick to it was that one of the heroes was a villain in disguise, and their goal was to murder every hero and prevent the building from being repaired. They could even sabotage certain areas to delay the hero's progress and isolate more victims for the killing spree. Of course, if someone witnessed a murder, they could point out the villain to the others, and then the heroes could throw the villain out the window and claim victory before the building was even repaired. People could also call a meeting to accuse someone that they suspected of being the killer, but that usually just ended with the person who called the meeting being tossed out the window instead of the actual villain. Very few games were actually won by repairing the building. Most ended with either all the heroes dying or the heroes uncovering the villain's identity. Kurai had just won as the villain in a game against the other members of Team Lightning Drop and a majority of their other classmates, with almost all of them lamenting said victory. "Why didn't we trust Ashido?" Ruby was whining. "Why?" "Because we all thought she was still mad at him for trying to drop a building on us." Her sister sighed as she extended a fist to Kurai. He used his metal arm to bump knuckles with her. "Good game, dude. That whole building thing isn't going away anytime soon, is it?" he asked. "Wouldn't count on it." "Nah, nope. I'm bringing it up at our graduation. I'm bringing it up at his and Ashido's wedding." Everyone froze and Kaminari clapped his hand over his mouth as he realized what he had just vocalized. "Did I say that out loud?" he said through his fingers. "Yep," Mina said in a tight voice. She and Kurai were both blushing like crazy, a rare enough sight. Normally it was one or the other who was embarrassed by something, not the pair of them simultaneously. I was kidding," the electric boy said as he nervously eyed Jiro's hovering auxiliary jack. "No, you weren't," the punk girl growled. "What do you think, Ashido? Hikari?" "Please, no," Kaminari begged. Let him off this once," Kurai said after another pause. "I think I beat him up enough for the week. Try the month, dude. Of course, it's been a while since I laughed at his pain. I'm sorry, I take it back! But laughing hurts a lot right now, so never mind." Kurai grinned, after which Jiro's weapon of choice retracted back toward her earlobe. His face was still red, but he seemed willing to move past the awkward moment, much to everyone's relief. Well, almost everyone. "So," Mina said as she plopped down on her bed, her eyes still a little unfocused. "About earlier." "Yeah," Kurai nodded as he sat down next to her. "That was awkward." "Very," she agreed with a slight laugh. "And I wish it was one of those awkward moments we could just move past and laugh about it later on down the road, but yeah, we can't let this one just slide, can we?" Kurai muttered as he looked at his girlfriend out of the corner of his eyes. "I don't think so, no." She laughed lightly while putting her head in her hands. "Gosh, this is crazy. Never in a million years did I think I'd have this kind of thing come up while I was in high school. I mean, not unless it was about a celebrity guy I could marry if I had a crazy chance encounter followed by a whirlwind romance straight out of an old American Hallmark movie. At least you might be able to laugh about it the first time you heard it, Kurai said as he rubbed her back. I was pretty much ambushed by Akaruri on the subject right before the school festival. Wait, really? Yeah, he was feeling pretty fatalistic before Ochako and Rose surprised him at the concert, Kurai recalled with a sigh. It was really weird hearing him talk like he didn't have long to live. Our whole lives he's talked about using his quirk to beat his quirk. It really threw me for a loop. But he was talking about how he worried about what would happen to me after he was gone, and he brought you up. He did? Mina was now doubly surprised by the evening's momentous highlights. What did he say about me? Kurai turned to look at her in the eyes before saying, he told me you were the best thing to ever happen to me. Said he was glad that if he had to leave me in anybody's hands, that he was happy they would be yours. Well, wow, she stuttered. Talk about big expectations, right? She tried to laugh it off, but she was feeling like a train full of emotions that was actively running her over in the middle of a tornado, so it didn't come out as very convincing. Mina, Kurai said as he gripped her hands with a somber gaze, I need to tell you something. The girl felt her stomach drop into a pit somewhere in the center of the earth. Nothing good ever comes out of those words. She thought as vertigo clutched at her skull like an angry wraith, threatening to make her sick. I know we'd each talked about being a good mom and dad, right? He said as he maintained eye contact without blinking. And it was nice to hear from you, and I know that you liked hearing it from me, but I don't know that either of us gave it a whole lot of thought other than that, you know? Oh no, she thought as her breath froze in her throat. No, this is not happening. Actually, I hadn't thought much about it, which just might make me the biggest jerk on the planet, he continued on. At least, not until I fought that Nomu in Fukuoka. I don't think somebody can go through something that insane, without considering the future that he might not live to see, given one wrong move on their part, you know? Wait, what? Mina blinked at the tears that had begun to build up in the corners of her eyes. Kurai, what are you getting at? She asked him in a slightly quavering voice, still unsure of which way this conversation was headed. After all, there were only two directions that it could go. Mina, I love you, he said as he turned his body more toward her. I've known that for certain ever since Island, and I've suspected it of myself before even then. We've known one another for less than a year, but it's been a hell of a year, hasn't it? And you've been by my side through more than any normal girlfriend should, but you're still here, which can only mean one thing. That being, you're not an ordinary girlfriend, he said, his voice beginning to shake along with his body. You're way beyond plus ultra. And I know what I say next is probably going to get me smacked big time in addition to you avoiding me for the rest of our lives, but now I have to say it. Mina, I want to... Yes. Huh? Kurai's mouth was hanging open like a loose hinge while Mina's face was a dark purple while she tried to maintain an even expression. You were going to say something along the lines of wanting to spend the rest of our lives together, right? She asked him. At least, I really hope you were, or else I probably will avoid you for the rest of our lives. Well, yeah, he said dumbly, his own face darkening a few shades with his blood rushing to the surface. I do want to spend my life with you. I mean, you just cannot get through this kind of thing without breaking up your sentences, can you? She asked as her stomach began to shoot up out of the hole it had fallen into, allowing her heart to soar into the clouds as she remembered the time that he had oh so awkwardly confessed to having feelings for her. To be fair, you interrupted me, he said while he tried to hold back a snort of laughter while pointing at her nose. Your fault. Okay, then I won't interrupt this time, she said with a silly grin. Do over, go. But seriously? Yes, she laughed as she shoved his arm. Come on, please. Okay. He chuckled as he scooted a little closer. Mina? Do you want to spend the rest of our lives together? His voice was a little wobbly, but he managed to keep his eyes on hers while he posed the question that every girl in love wants to hear. Yes, she giggled as she pressed her forehead against his while warmth enveloped her entire body. If you're crazy enough to want to actually commit your best years to my worst ones, then I'll absolutely spend all of mine with you. I can't believe this, he said, sounding fairly dazed. This is... Normal people don't talk about this kind of thing, do they? Are we allowed to do this? Honey, we've done a few things we're not supposed to do. She laughed as she closed her eyes, enjoying the moment while he allowed a sheepish smile of his own to break out. Why stop now? Besides, you already told me that I'm not normal, and neither are you, in all the best ways. She didn't know if her feelings were being heightened by the fact that a few moments ago she'd been possessed by an irrational fear of being dumped, which was really stupid now that she thought about it, but she didn't care. Mina Ashido, the girl who had been in love with the idea of love since she was little, was going to spend the rest of her life being in love with her best friend, and she couldn't be happier about it. There's just one thing I want you to promise me, she said as they pressed their heads against one another. Name it. I think I asked you this before, when you came back from fighting that Nomu, but promise me now that you'll never head into a fight unless you can know you can make it back to me alive, she said as she caressed his arm where the flesh fused with metal. You and I both know that in our line of work, it may not always be possible for us to come out in one piece, but I need you to promise me this much. I can't lose you, understand? I promise, he said without hesitation. When I fought that Nomu and it was down to the last gambit, it was largely because of you that I pushed myself so hard, not only to win, but also to survive. So I promise you that I will never go into battle or a disaster if I believe that I will die in the process. Thank you, Mina said with a small shiver. No take-backs, got it? You're stuck with me from now on. Then here's to being abnormal forever, he said before he kissed her. It had been a long, hard day for everyone in Class 1A, but for Kurai Hogosha and Mina Ashido, it felt like things were just beginning.
Even if they doubt me, push me where I stand, I will say it proudly, soon you know who I am. There is something that sleeps within you, listen close. You will soon know every door that is open for you, one is closed. Soon you'll know what's on the other side.
So I'm expecting some pretty mixed reviews on this chapter.
Yeah, how so?
So my prediction is that people are going to be all right with the way that the fight ended, but they're going to be mad at the UA faculty for the real reason behind the whole test.
Okay.
Trying to figure out whether to basically get rid of him or not.
Yeah,
I mean you're a teacher. I'm sure you understand. You'd have to if a student is a present danger to the entire rest of the student body, then something needs to be done.
Yeah, I think that,
And with the high stakes world they live in, they have to be careful.
To be fair, I don't exactly teach a subject that is as important. I guess it's not to say it's not important as, how do you say?
Prevalent?
No. I'm teaching itty bitty kids, and its problem has to be really, really serious for it to be a safety issue for other kids.
Yeah.
But I kind of guessed that was why they were doing it anyway.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, if you are entering the police force, if you are entering, any kind of fire academy, as far as I know, you have to go through some psych evals. And anytime you go through something traumatic, you're going to have to go through another one. And if they're training these kids with incredibly dangerous powers to go in...
Let me set a power scaling right now. Kurai is a walking nuclear warhead. He could obliterate a city off a map, and he'd still have stuff left in the tank.
I mean, he is the poster child for the doomsday theorists.
Pretty much.
So it's honestly...
Speaking of doomsday theorists, the new My Hero Academia movie finally came out on DVD, and I can't show it to you guys because I don't have my camera on, but I got the steelbook copy.
It's gorgeous.
The artwork is gorgeous on this thing.
It's so cool. If you guys haven't seen that movie yet, you need to.
If I'm gonna try to introduce someone to My Hero Academia, just as a hero movie, that's the one I would show them.
I think, you guys know how I feel about anime movies. I am not a fan of anime movies because I think the whole reason I love anime is because of the slow build up that you get in the shows.
Especially with the characters.
Absolutely. And so, This movie, I have to say, is one of the few exceptions.
It really ingratiated you to the character.
All of the My Hero movies have been pretty solid. This one, I've never cared that much about an original character. Usually when there's an OC
for a movie,
I really don't care. Like, especially with the fairy tale movies, I'm like, yeah, I don't care about you. Go away. You know, what is the point of view?
Fair enough.
And even like with the Full Metal Alchemist movie too, I'm just like, okay, OCs, like, I know I'm probably never gonna see you again, so why do I care?
Yeah.
But with the OC that's introduced
Rhodey.
in that movie, oh my gosh, his visual design, his personality, his quirk, all of it.
His driving forces.
Yes, his character design and backstory.
It really gives you like a unique look into the world of heroes too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Seriously, if you guys haven't seen this movie, like, at least rent it on Vudu or Fandango or whatever it is now.
And, you know, even though it's not technically in the canon, it fits into the canon very well.
It is canon to the anime.
Oh, it is canon?
To the anime, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
sick.
Yeah.
Okay.
It literally takes, like... So, like, there's that post-credit scene at the end of season 5.
Yeah.
It takes place before that.
Cool. Okay.
So I believe it takes place like a month before the war that's coming.
I may get to see Rhodey again. Yes. That makes me happy. Anyway, moving on.
So you remember the second movie villain, right? 9?
Yeah.
So they actually show him in the manga. Like in the canon in the manga, like Shigaraki remembers him as a flashback. So like his character in that event is canon to the manga.
That's why I appreciate the story so much. Yeah. Like, we're not doing random stupid non-canon
Do you remember
money grabs?
Do you remember the scene with young All Might in the first movie?
Yes.
How he saves there's that little girl in the car and he saves her family. That little girl is now the #1 hero in America.
Oh.
And she comes to Japan to help out.
That's cool.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Random things that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, sorry. Random tangent.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm never gonna shut up about how I love how the My Hero movies integrate with the rest of the story.
Yeah. So back to the reasoning with the teachers. I mean, again, this is fiction. It's only going to be realistic to a certain point.
Yep.
But I don't think it's that far out of the realm of possibilities. Because, I mean, like, we've mentioned it before. Like, my brother had to go through police academy. He had to get maced and do push-ups. He had to be tased. Like, they have to go through
She's not saying that he got maced and then had to do push-ups. No, they maced him, like, in the face for, like, 10 seconds and then made him do as many push-ups as he could, like, immediately after.
Yeah, so it's like, I know that, like, even with, like, our state is weird with cops. Like, I don't know. But any type of law enforcement, if you think about the basic training that military have to go through, it is insane, especially special forces, the type of psychological stuff
I remember
they do.
My dad was not special forces, but he was a part of the Air Force Academy, which is actually, like, if it's not the toughest if it's not the toughest college to get into in the nation, it's the second. But during his boot camp, during basic training, they were basically out in the wilderness for 3 weeks, and it was the upperclassmen's job to try and, like, catch him and his classmates while they hid out from them. And they had to, like, survive, get their own food, set up their own shelters, post sentries so that the seniors didn't come and get them. And if they caught you, there was some crazy stuff they would make you do. Like, they would make you, like, stand on a bucket, like, on one leg for hours at a time. Like, you couldn't change legs. Like, and if you fell over, you had to start again. Like, it was torture.
Yeah, so I mean, the kinds of training that people do to be in these types of whether it's law enforcement or military or just fields where they have to put their lives on the line to help other people. They have to go through some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you don't get into those fields to take it easy.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, for me, it makes sense that they would question, you know,
whether it's wise to let him continue what he's doing.
Yeah, especially when he's already undergone so much trauma at such a young age. It's barely been a year. Yeah,
he's literally been dismembered, and he's been dismembered. His brother was put in a wheelchair, kind of because of his actions. He arrested his mother and put her in jail for life, pretty much, and his dad's dead.
To be fair, realistically, as a teacher, I would have more concern about Bakugo. But this is shonen, and we're just gonna pretend that the angry sociopath is just
the angry gremlin with dynamite for hands.
Yeah, we're just gonna pretend that's normal. We're not questioning what
I mean, Endeavor's the number one hero at this point, so you kind of have to suspend your disbelief for some of these.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, aside from the teacher's reasoning, what was something else you wanted to cover with this chapter?
I mean, well, we get to see a new ability from Kurai, one that he has.
Yeah.
Like, he's had this one for a while, but he just never, like, had a good moment to use it.
I kind of loved how they're all, like, sitting there talking, and they're not sure if he can speak, and he finally, like,
he's just messing with them.
After messing with them for ages, he finally is just like, really, guys?
He's like, you're just gonna use me as target practice? Okay.
That one made me laugh for sure.
What was like? I thought about using having him debut this power against the Nomu, but then I was like, nah. If the Nomu realizes it can't get to him, it'll start taking it.
Yeah.
It'll start going after other things to draw him out. So that just wouldn't be a smart move for him in the first place. Yeah. Plus, there was a whole lot of other stuff going on already. I didn't think a new power should be.
Nah,
that would have tipped it over the edge to being too much in one chapter. I think.
I think so too.
But yeah.
The other thing that made me laugh was, "Honey, you dropped a building on us," or "Sweetie,
you dropped a building on us." He's like, oh, "Okay, all right, point taken."
Yeah, I love it.
Yep. So yeah, it took. So yeah, he took out 18 of his classmates before they were able to bring him down, but the rest of Class A is the winners, yes.
Which is what I was hoping for. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like you want things to happen in a story, but making them happen in a convincing manner is the hard part.
Of course.
Because I can just very easily write, this happened because I said so. Mm-hmm. Like, I try to avoid doing that these days at least. Mm-hmm. I like to think that I did a good job with that here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I said before, it's like if he was going to win, it would be because he managed to outthink them, not because he outmuscled them.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, we have strength in numbers, and we have a bunch of incredibly talented individuals, and even like a pro hero would have a hard time with those odds. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, who's to say one day, these guys are going to be out and they're going to be like, all right, 25 villains, one hero, let's go. Oh, great. I mean, like, for someone like All Might, that's well, depending on the caliber of the villain, that's not really a problem. But if it's like, 25, like, if it's 25 League of Villain class villains, then yeah, All Might's going to have a problem on his hands.
Was there anything else you were wanting to address?
I'm sure people will have enjoyed the Among Us reference that I threw in there.
I definitely enjoyed it.
I was like originally I was just gonna have it be Among Us, but then I was like, nah. I'm like, by this time, like, I feel like there would just be different versions of the game, and everybody's gonna be into the one with the heroes. So let's just do that.
I was laughing because you reread this chapter to me last night, and then I went to school, and this is kind of a roundabout. I promise I'll get to the Among Us point. Mm-hmm. I do warm-ups with my big kids, so they have to come in quietly. They have to draw with me. And this week, we are studying an artist named Maria Martinez, who is from New Mexico. She is from San Ildefonso Pueblo, and she creates some really cool ceramic pieces, or she did when she was still with us. She made that style of artwork super famous around here. So anyway, I was introducing the kids to it. With our warm-up, we did a bunch of different shapes of traditional Pueblo pottery here in New Mexico. And it was so funny because every time I started with the oval for the top, the kids were like, is that an Among Us character? Because all they could see. So it was so funny because I drew 3 different ones, and finally I was like, oh my gosh, these kids are going to lose their minds if I don't do it. So then my last one, I did an Among Us character for their warm-up, and I did it all 3D, and I made them edge shading. They were losing their minds because it was so fun. They have the hardest time being quiet for their warm-ups, and so by the end, when we were adding our shadows and making it look 3D, they were just absolutely bursting at the seams. And it was the best part is, my students know that if I give them a lesson objective, if they don't like the thing that I drew, they do not have to draw it. As long as they complete their objective, they can draw whatever they want. So in that particular class, rather than a bunch of reproductions of Pueblo pottery, I got a bunch of Among Us characters with Pueblo designs all over them.
Oh,
and
boy.
It was hilarious. And it's, I talked to them about cultural appropriation.
I was about to say, I'm like, it's a good thing that these are like grade schoolers because someone's about to get smacked with cultural appropriation.
We talk about cultural appropriation, and so I tell them, you can get inspiration from these designs, but you have to remember that these are important culturally. And also, as an artist, you need to start making things unique for you. And you can take inspiration, but I want you to go in, I want you to create your own line design. I want you to go in, and I have all these different references you can use. You can put, even I had a kid put the hidden leaf symbol all over his. It was super cool. Anyway, so they're not like reproductions. So we had the discussion about cultural appropriation, but we're creating artwork in the style of this artwork. And so the kids, it was cracking me up. They were having a blast. And so, sorry, that's my Among Us reference. I was just laughing my head off because he had just read this to me. And I thought all my kids were over Among Us, but apparently not, because they were just loving it today.
I love... One of the things that I love kind of / hate about Among Us is, like, it's very different playing it when you don't know the people. Because, like, when you're sitting behind a keyboard, like, all you do is you type out, it's like red sus or cyan vented. And, like, it's very cut and dry, and then people get all butthurt because they were thrown out and they weren't the imposter. But when you know the person, and you're playing in a group, and you, like, know their tells, it's like, it's so much fun. And, like, I'm gonna brag a little bit, but I actually, like, every time I played Among Us with you and, like, all of our friends and stuff, I never got caught as the imposter. Like, no, I got caught one time, and that was because John killed someone, and then I found the body, and you all assumed that I had done it. So I was just, and then, like, John voted me out, so I was just like, thanks, other killer. And John won the game, but after that, he was like, why would you say other killer? He's like, why would you tell them that there was someone else out there? I'm like, they know that there's someone else out there if the game doesn't. And we ended up arguing about it.
So funny.
Oh, man, yeah.
The days of lockdown in Among Us. It was so funny because I had a kid say, Miss, you know Among Us? I'm like, who lived through 2020 and doesn't know Among Us? And he was like, oh, yeah, you right, man. So yeah, I definitely had to throw an Among Us reference in here at some point. I think when you were structuring the story, that's where we were at anyway.
Yeah, might have been.
Anyway, I think that's about it for this one.
No, there's one very important thing that happened at the end.
What did I miss?
Remember, Denki makes a certain joke, and then they have to have a discussion about it?
Yes, sorry, the fluff.
Yep.
What is wrong with me? I'm getting to where I used to care about the fluff only, and now I'm just like action and plot driving point. I don't even care about the fluff anymore. Sorry, guys. I know you care about the fluff. It's great. They have this wonderful emotional moment.
Yeah. Like, honestly, for me, this has felt like as much of a self-insert into the story through Kurai as I've done so far, because, I mean, like, in high school, I knew I wanted to marry Becca. Like, and my friends were, a lot of my friends were like, hey, we're like, dude, slow it down. You don't know what you're talking about. I was like, no, I know what I want. I know, I want to marry this girl. And I remember telling my best friend, like, I found like 3 weeks after I met Becca, I remember telling my friend, I was like, I found the one, man. And he was like, slow it down, man. You're crazy. 5 years later, that guy was my best man at my wedding, and he was like, Joseph is a man of his word. Yeah. So yeah, it's like. And the reason I say this is somewhat of a self-insert is because I have, like, obviously I haven't been through the same trauma that Kurai has, but I definitely, I come from a place where, like, I nearly died very young. So I was forced to come to grips with mortality from an age that, like, you know, a lot of people, like, they're in their teenage years in their early 20s and they think they're invincible. I never had that thought. I've always been very keenly aware of my mortality and that, you know, every day could be my last. So, like, because of the circumstances that Kurai's been through, he's been forced to confront this reality that, you know, he doesn't know which day is going to be his last. So he needs to make the most of the days that he does have. And, you know, he loves Mina. He wants to make her happy, and she makes him happy. So, So yeah, he's like, let's spend the rest of our lives together.
And it does happen. You know, usually high school romance is something that fizzes out more times than not.
Yeah, I just remember some of my classmates dating in high school, and then they would just stop. I was just like, why'd you stop? They're like, it wasn't fun anymore. And I'm just like, I come from a place where I'm just like, you don't date somebody unless you're considering them as a prospective spouse.
Yeah, exactly.
And as a result, I've only ever dated 3 people in my life.
Same, actually. But I have to, you know, if you're in the same mindset as the person, it makes sense. But I mean, and even so, you also hear stories of people who were best friends in elementary school and all the way through grade school, and then they end up getting married. Like, there are those gem couples who are like that.
They do exist.
And they do. And so it's uncommon. It's
really awesome when it does happen, though.
And sometimes it's not the greatest relationship, but sometimes they're just these beautiful, sweet couples who just adore each other.
My dad's best friend and his wife, they were together. They were like us. Except they dated for longer. They dated for 9 years from their freshman year in high school until so. They did high school. He started at the Air Force Academy, and then he went on a year missionary, came back to the academy, finished, then they got married. So they were dating for 9 years before they got married. Wow. But they were high school sweethearts. I'm just like, that's so cool.
Yeah. So anyway, so hopefully they enjoyed that little moment.
Yeah.
I know it's not the typical high school romance, but I think it's fun to have one of those little gems here and there.
Yeah, like. And I'm hoping that this doesn't come across as forced, because as I was writing it, it didn't feel that way to me. Mm-hmm. Like I felt like
panic was so relatable. And the way you read it, at least to me, I didn't hear the recording, but when you were reading it to me, the emotion in your voice, I was like, oh, this hurts. Oh, this really hurts.
I throw a little harder into the voice acting for the recording than when I read it to you usually. Okay. So I'm hoping I get. It's still so hard to do girls' voices. Like,
that's okay.
Like guys, like I can project all the emotions with guys, I feel like, but with girls, I'm trying to elevate my voice a little bit, and trying to pitch in emotion on top of that. It's very hard for me.
Don't try. You're doing fine, because I have to say, as an audiobook reader, yes, judge me all you want, fan fiction readers. You guys are listening to his podcast. As an audiobook reader, I think it's super annoying when men try to pitch their voices super high for girls. I try to soften my voice is what I do. Yeah, if you soften it and make it almost more vulnerable sounding.
The only one that I try to pitch it higher is with Ruby, and it's just because I don't feel like I have any other choice, because she has this insanely high pitched voice.
It's Ruby.
It's Ruby. Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, I think you're fine. I like I said, I haven't really heard the recordings, but when you read it to me, it works.
Awesome. Let's see. I think that's all that happened.
That's the end of the chapter, right?
That is the end of the chapter.
So
that's
mutual decision there.
Yeah. I enjoyed that a lot. So next up is going to be the Class A versus Class B arc. Yeah, man. And before any of y'all ask, Shinzo will be in there. Don't worry about it. But there will also be a little extra something else in there as well that I think you guys will enjoy. So, thanks again to you guys for leaving all the reviews.
Is it my favorite ship? Did that start yet?
Your favorite ship? No.
Dang it.
No, that doesn't start for a while.
Dang it.
Sorry. I'm sorry. No, that doesn't happen for a little while. Or wait, does it? Does it start next chapter?
You've been planting seeds, you.
I have been, but I don't. No. That definitely doesn't happen for a little while. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but no, it doesn't start. It doesn't start. So I'm gonna go before I keep torturing you guys anymore. But yeah, Class A versus Class B, and there will be some of my own new content thrown in there for funsies. So thanks again for all the reviews, and I hope you guys have a really great couple of weeks till the next podcast.
All right.
So stay plus ultra until the next one.